My beloved child, pause here for a moment, because what you are about to hear was never meant to pass you by unnoticed. There is a reason your heart slowed down when your eyes found these words. There is a reason something within you whispered, "Stay." Do not move away from this moment too quickly. A truth has been waiting at the edge of your awareness, quietly asking for permission to enter, and tonight it has finally been released. Your soulmate has been thinking about a future with you more deeply than you realize. Not as a passing fantasy. Not as a temporary escape from loneliness. They have imagined mornings beside you, difficult seasons survived with you, ordinary evenings made beautiful because you are there, and a life in which your presence no longer feels distant or uncertain. But there is one important thing you need to know before that future can begin, and it is not what your fear has been telling you. You may have believed that their silence meant they had forgotten you. You may have interpreted their hesitation as a lack of love, their distance as rejection, or their confusion as proof that someone else had taken your place. Yet heaven has seen what you could not see. Beneath their guarded behavior, something has been changing. They have been confronting emotions they once tried to bury. They have been remembering conversations, moments, and details about you that they pretended did not matter. A phrase you spoke long ago has returned to them in quiet hours. A look in your eyes has followed them into rooms where you were not present. The warmth they felt around you has become the standard by which every other connection is measured, and they are beginning to understand that what they experienced with you was not ordinary. But listen carefully, beloved, because this message is not arriving merely to confirm that you are loved. It is arriving to prepare your heart for the condition hidden inside that love. Your soulmate does want a future with you, but they no longer want a future built on the same patterns that caused pain in the past. They are afraid that if they come closer before something changes, the two of you may repeat the very cycle that separated your hearts. This is the important truth. They are not only asking whether they love you enough. They are asking whether the love between you can become safe enough, honest enough, and strong enough to survive reality. There is a difference between longing for someone and being ready to build with them. Your soulmate is discovering that difference now. For a long time, they believed love was supposed to feel like urgency, uncertainty, emotional chasing, and fear of loss. They mistook intensity for destiny. They believed that if they felt deeply enough, everything else would somehow repair itself. But life has taught them that love cannot breathe where pride refuses to apologize, where fear controls communication, or where old wounds are allowed to speak louder than the heart. They want you, but they also want peace. They want closeness, but they cannot return to confusion. They want a future, but they need to know that both of you are willing to create something different from what existed before. This does not mean you must become perfect. Heaven is not asking perfection from either of you. Your soulmate is not waiting for you to erase every weakness, and you are not meant to carry the entire responsibility for healing what was broken. The important thing is willingness. They need to feel that you are willing to meet them without games, without silent tests, without forcing them to guess what you feel. They need to know that when fear rises, you will not disappear emotionally. They need to know that love will not be used as a weapon, affection will not be withdrawn as punishment, and vulnerability will not later be turned into evidence against them. Perhaps these words are touching a place inside you that you have tried not to examine. Perhaps you remember moments when pain made you become distant, defensive, or difficult to reach. Perhaps there were times when you wanted them to fight for you, but you never clearly told them what you needed. You hoped they would read your heart without being given the language. When they failed, your disappointment deepened. Then they felt rejected by your silence, and their own walls rose. What began as love became a maze of unspoken expectations. Neither of you wanted to leave, yet both of you became afraid to stay. Your soulmate has replayed these moments more than you know. They have questioned what they could have done differently. They have wondered whether they misunderstood your quietness, whether they judged your reaction too quickly, or whether they allowed outside opinions to distort something sacred. But their reflection has also revealed a truth they cannot ignore. Love cannot move forward if only one person is willing to be emotionally visible. A future with you will require both hearts to step out from behind their defenses. There was a moment recently when your soulmate imagined reaching out. Their hand may have moved toward their phone. They may have opened an old conversation, searched your name, or paused over a photograph they once promised themselves they would stop revisiting. In that moment, they felt a strong urge to tell you what has been building inside them. They wanted to say that their feelings did not disappear. They wanted to admit that the future still includes you in ways they have not confessed. Yet before they could act, another thought stopped them. They wondered whether anything would truly be different this time. That question is the one important thing standing between longing and movement. It is not a third person. It is not a lack of attraction. It is not that they have suddenly stopped caring. It is the fear of returning to the same emotional doorway and finding the same locked rooms behind it. They are asking themselves whether the two of you can speak honestly when something hurts. Whether misunderstandings can be addressed before they become resentment. Whether love can remain gentle during conflict. Whether both of you can choose connection over the need to be right. My child, this revelation is not meant to accuse you. It is meant to awaken you. Your soulmate has their own lessons to learn. They too have avoided conversations. They too have let fear disguise itself as independence. They too have acted as though they did not care because caring made them feel exposed. There were moments when they expected you to understand their withdrawal, even though they gave you no explanation. They punished you with distance while secretly hoping you would come closer. They created tests you did not know you were taking, and when you failed those invisible tests, they used the result to confirm their deepest fears. But something has shifted within them. They can no longer blame everything on timing, circumstances, or your mistakes. They are seeing their own role. That realization has humbled them. It has also frightened them, because it means they must become vulnerable in a way they have avoided for a long time. Wanting a future with you means they may have to admit that they were wrong about certain things. They may have to apologize without defending themselves. They may have to reveal how deeply your absence affected them. And for someone who has built strength around emotional control, that kind of honesty feels like stepping into the unknown. You may notice subtle signs before any direct confession appears. Their energy may feel closer. You may dream about them unexpectedly, remember them without an obvious reason, or feel an unusual calm where anxiety used to live. You may hear a song connected to your shared history. Their name may arise in conversation. An old memory may return with new meaning. Do not treat these moments as commands to chase them. Let them remind you that your own heart is being prepared. This season is not only about whether they return. It is about who you will be if they do. Because the truth is, you have changed too. There was a version of you who would have accepted almost anything just to keep them close. You might have ignored your needs, silenced your intuition, or carried the emotional weight for both people. You called it devotion, but part of it was fear. You feared that asking for clarity would push them away. You feared that setting a boundary would make you unlovable. You feared that if you stopped chasing, the connection would disappear. Yet heaven has been teaching you that what is real does not need you to abandon yourself in order to keep it alive. This is why the future your soulmate imagines cannot begin with you returning to your former self. It must begin with both of you meeting as more honest versions of who you are. Your soulmate needs reassurance, but you need consistency. They need emotional safety, but you need clear intention. They need patience, but you need effort. A true future cannot be built from one person giving endlessly while the other remains uncertain. The important thing to know is that love alone will not be enough unless love becomes action. Do not be discouraged by that truth. It is not the ending of the story. It is the doorway into the real beginning. Fantasy asks only, do we feel something? Mature love asks, can we protect what we feel? Can we speak when silence would be easier? Can we stay kind when disappointment appears? Can we honor one another's individuality without creating distance? Can we take responsibility without collapsing into shame? Your soulmate is beginning to ask these questions because their feelings for you have become serious enough to require more than dreams. There is a conversation forming in their mind. They have imagined how it might begin. Perhaps they would start casually, pretending they only wanted to check how you were doing. Perhaps they would mention something small, hoping your response would reveal whether the door is still open. But beneath those simple words would be a storm of emotions. They would be listening for warmth in your tone. They would be searching for signs that anger has softened. They would be wondering whether you still see them as someone who could belong in your life. Yet there is something they are afraid to ask directly. They want to know whether you still believe in the connection, but even more than that, they want to know whether you believe in rebuilding it differently. They are not seeking a promise that nothing will ever go wrong. They are seeking evidence that when things do go wrong, the two of you will not immediately become strangers. This fear was born from a specific wound. There was a time when they felt emotionally alone even though the connection still existed. They may have misunderstood your silence, but the loneliness they experienced was real. They felt as though they were standing outside the door of your heart, unsure whether they were welcome. At the same time, you may have felt exactly the same way about them. Two people deeply attached, both waiting for the other to make the first move, both protecting themselves, both quietly grieving what neither knew how to repair. The future they want with you is one where this kind of emotional exile ends. They imagine being able to tell you when they are afraid rather than becoming cold. They imagine you sharing what hurts before the pain becomes distance. They picture disagreements that do not threaten the entire relationship. They imagine being chosen not only in romantic moments but in the quiet discipline of daily care. They want to feel that the connection can hold truth without breaking. And there is something else, beloved. Your soulmate is carrying a private concern about their ability to give you what you deserve. They wonder whether they are emotionally ready enough, stable enough, healed enough, or brave enough. Their hesitation is not entirely about you. Part of it is the fear that they will disappoint you again. They have seen the depth of your heart. They know you do not love lightly. They understand that allowing them back into your inner world would be a sacred responsibility, and they are afraid of making promises they cannot yet fulfill. For this reason, their progress may appear slower than their feelings. Do not confuse slow movement with empty intention, but do not romanticize endless delay either. Watch for alignment. Words may reveal desire, but actions reveal readiness. A genuine future will not remain hidden forever behind vague hints. It will begin to show itself through honesty, consistency, and courage. Your soulmate must eventually step forward. You are not being asked to wait in emotional suspension while they remain comfortable in uncertainty. Heaven is preparing you to recognize the difference between a sincere return and a temporary wave of nostalgia. Nostalgia says, "I miss how you made me feel." Sincere love says, "I am ready to understand how you feel." Nostalgia wants the comfort of the past without confronting why it ended. Sincere love is willing to face uncomfortable truths so the future can be different. Nostalgia appears intensely and disappears when responsibility enters the room. Sincere love stays. Your soulmate has reached the point where missing you is no longer enough. They know that thinking about you late at night changes nothing unless they are willing to act in daylight. They know that imagining a future means little if they cannot communicate in the present. This awareness has created pressure within them. It is becoming harder to maintain the appearance that everything is fine. Their heart is asking for movement, while fear is asking for more time. A decision is approaching. It will not come because someone forces it. It will come because the emotional truth has become too large to keep hidden. Your soulmate is beginning to realize that avoiding risk is also a risk. By protecting themselves from possible rejection, they may lose the person they genuinely wanted beside them. By waiting for a perfect moment, they may allow an important chapter to close. This realization has started to follow them through their days. They may appear distracted. They may withdraw from conversations that once entertained them. They may become less interested in shallow connections. Something inside them is reevaluating what truly matters. The future they once pictured according to other people's expectations no longer satisfies them. They are asking themselves a question they avoided for too long: if I build a life without this person, will part of me always wonder what could have happened if I had been brave? But before you let hope carry you too far, remember the important thing. Their desire for a future does not guarantee that the future will happen exactly as imagined. Free will still matters. Growth still matters. Timing still matters. You are not being called to put your life on hold. You are being called to remain open without becoming powerless, hopeful without becoming dependent, loving without losing discernment. Your own preparation is already underway. You are learning to speak more clearly. You are discovering that boundaries do not destroy love. They reveal whether love is strong enough to respect you. You are learning that being compassionate does not mean accepting confusion indefinitely. You are becoming capable of holding tenderness and truth at the same time. This version of you will not beg for the bare minimum. This version of you can welcome love without surrendering peace. Your soulmate senses this change, even if they cannot explain how. They feel that you are no longer standing in the same emotional place. Part of them admires your strength. Another part fears they may have waited too long. They wonder whether someone else will recognize your value before they find the courage to speak. They wonder whether your heart is still available or whether the silence has already changed you beyond their reach. This is where the message becomes more urgent. There is something your soulmate has not told anyone. They have made a private promise to themselves. They have decided that if they come toward you, they will not come merely to reopen emotion and then retreat. They want to come with a clearer purpose. They want to know what they are offering. They want to be able to look at you without hiding behind excuses. But that promise has created a final inner struggle. To keep it, they must release something they have carried for years. It may be pride. It may be the need to appear unaffected. It may be fear inherited from a painful relationship, family history, or betrayal. It may be the belief that love always ends in abandonment. Whatever its name, it has controlled more of their choices than they admitted. They once thought this protective pattern kept them safe. Now they see that it also kept them disconnected. It taught them to leave emotionally before anyone could leave them physically. It taught them to question kindness, distrust stability, and create distance whenever love became real. With you, the feelings became real enough to trigger every defense they had. That is why the connection sometimes felt closest just before it became distant. You may have blamed yourself for this shift. You may have searched every conversation for the moment you ruined everything. But the distance was not created by one sentence or one mistake. Your closeness awakened something unresolved within them. They wanted the love, but they feared what the love required. It required being seen. It required trusting that you would not use their vulnerability against them. It required believing that happiness could remain. Now they are standing at an emotional threshold. On one side is the familiar life of control, silence, and wondering. On the other is the possibility of you. The second path is more beautiful, but it is also more frightening because it asks them to become someone new. It asks them to stop hiding behind circumstances. It asks them to take responsibility for the future they claim to want. This is why your role is not to rescue them from the threshold. You cannot cross it for them. You cannot love them so intensely that their fear disappears. You cannot explain your worth until they become ready to honor it. You can keep your heart honest, your spirit grounded, and your life moving forward. The next step must be theirs. Yet there is one more layer to this revelation, and this is the part you must not overlook. The important thing your soulmate needs before building a future with you is not only proof that the relationship can be different. They need to know whether you still want the same kind of future they want. They are afraid that while they were trying to understand themselves, your dream may have changed. They have imagined commitment, but they do not know whether commitment still means the same thing to you. They have pictured creating a home, but they wonder whether you now prefer freedom from the uncertainty they brought. They have thought about choosing you openly, yet they fear you may no longer trust their choice. Somewhere inside them is a painful awareness that love delayed can become love transformed. This is why the next conversation cannot be built on assumptions. It must contain truth. Not performance. Not spiritual signs used in place of communication. Not hidden expectations. Truth. You may both discover that the love remains, but the old version of the relationship cannot return. That is not a tragedy. The old version may need to stay in the past so a healthier version can be born. Your soulmate wants to ask whether you are willing to begin again without pretending nothing happened. They do not want to erase the past. They want to understand it. They want to know what hurt you most, what you needed but never received, and what would help you feel safe now. But they are also afraid of hearing the answer, because your honesty may reveal wounds they caused more deeply than they realized. Still, that conversation is necessary. Love that avoids truth becomes fantasy. Love that faces truth can become a foundation. Your soulmate is slowly choosing the foundation. There has been a recent moment of awakening for them. Something happened that made the possibility of losing you feel real. It may have been a conversation with someone. It may have been seeing another relationship succeed because both people were brave enough to communicate. It may have been a dream, a memory, or a sudden emptiness during a moment that should have felt joyful. Whatever occurred, it broke through their emotional defenses. For the first time, they did not simply miss you. They saw the future dividing into two paths. In one, they remained silent and built a life that appeared acceptable but carried an unnamed absence. In the other, they faced their fear, spoke honestly, and gave the connection a real chance. The second path frightened them. The first path frightened them more. They have begun to prepare words they have never said aloud. Words of regret. Words of desire. Words that reveal how often they thought of you when they pretended not to. They want to tell you why they pulled away. They want to explain what they were protecting. They want to admit that some of their reasons were not as strong as their fear made them seem. But there is one sentence they are struggling to say. It is the sentence that would change the entire direction of the connection. It is not simply, "I miss you." It is not even, "I love you." Those words feel easier compared with the truth behind them. The sentence requires responsibility. It requires a promise to show up differently. It requires them to stop treating the future as a dream and begin treating it as a decision. Your soulmate has whispered this sentence privately, imagining your face as you hear it. Each time, emotion rises in their throat. Each time, they wonder whether they deserve the chance to say it. Each time, they remember the important question. Will you believe them? That is why your heart must remain still enough to recognize sincerity when it appears. Do not let old pain answer before present truth has a chance to speak. But do not let longing silence your wisdom either. Listen. Observe. Allow time to reveal whether their behavior supports their words. Something is moving closer, beloved. Not necessarily in the dramatic form your imagination expects, but in a quieter, more meaningful way. A guarded heart is becoming tired of hiding. A person who once chose distance is beginning to consider courage. A future that seemed impossible is being examined again. But before that future can take shape, the hidden issue must be brought into the light. There is one truth your soulmate has kept from you because they feared it would change how you see them. It is connected to why they hesitated, why they created distance, and why they now feel such urgency to make things right. They know they cannot ask you to build a life with them while this truth remains unspoken. And at this very moment, they are closer than ever to revealing it. They have already decided where the conversation must begin. They have already chosen the first words. But what follows those words will uncover something about their past, their fear, and the future they want with you that you never saw coming.